What is up, my loves? It's your girl Diamond. I'm back with my own new review of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So we start off with Britt and Mike. They're about to have his family over. She loves her in-laws, and Britt is bragging about dating all of the ballers and all of the athletes from her being a video vixen from back in the day. But when she met Mike, he was different. He gave her husband material. But you want to keep on bragging about how you dated all these rappers and athletes, but they never gave you long-term commitment because they weren't going to give you long-term commitment. Some of these men don't believe in long-term commitment. Okay. You are very proud that you was a video vixen from back in the day. And it got even more interesting when she revealed that she dated Rick Ross. Can't say I'm surprised, but that was in the past, and she's been very happy with Mike for the past 3 years. Is that the entirety of your relationship? Well, yeah, because you guys met in COVID. So I would say yes, it has been. But Mike's dynamics with his family is very weird. So Britt mentions Shamia's party, how she had a good time, but then she mentions Kenya, how Kenya came for her. And she's just talking about the next time she sees Kenya, let's hope she keeps it cute. And I'm getting fucking annoyed. Like, it's so one sided that you felt the way about her asking you a simple question. And it's more obvious that you want to have an issue with Kenya when it's not even necessary. And Mike's sister cuts in to ask about the baby. Like, is it about that time? Mike wants to have a baby like tomorrow. But Britt, she wants to plan their wedding ceremony. But then Mike just cuts the conversation off by saying, let's not have this conversation. This isn't the proper way of addressing this type of conversation. But I don't understand why it's not. Maybe because there's more that he doesn't want to talk about. And let's just cut it off right now. But it's very weird. So when she asks her sister-in-law to go downstairs to get more champagne. She wants her to have her own private conversation. And of course, she mentions how her brother is a lot, but that's just how he is. But again, it's super weird. I mean, he didn't want to add his own opinions about what you felt with Kenya. Like, he just ignored you and talked about something else. Like, he talked about how you got lit after only having 2 drinks, but it's so weird to me. But Britt talks about losing her father in 2015. I'm very sorry about that. He was a great man in the mortgage industry. He put a lot of years in on being a professional businessman. But when he passed away, he had a $2 million life insurance policy, but her mom never got it because he transitioned from another job. How does that work? Was it with the same company that he got the insurance from? Because if that's the case, then that should have still been given to your family. Like, there's a clause put in place that you can't cash the life insurance policy because you're going to another job. I am not sure. I'm not really understanding that. That doesn't seem right to me. So she started a GoFundMe to help with the cost. And it's very interesting that you had to plan a GoFundMe because I am all over the place when it comes to Brit. I thought that Brit had a rags to riches type story because it sounds like she came from humble beginnings. But if your father was a very good businessman, it sounds like you were living in good setting, like you lived very comfortably. Your dad did everything for you and your sisters. But then how did you become a video vixen? What made you go down that road to become a video vixen? Like, what happened? Like, all of those things just don't make sense to me. But that's why she wanted to launch her insurance agency and she wanted to be involved in it with her sisters. And it was going to be an empire, but it got complicated. Her older sister thought that Britt was too tough to work with, so she left. And when she decided to sell her company, her other sister felt like she didn't have to do too much work, so she fired her, and they haven't spoken since then. And we got to fix that situation because that's interesting. So then Mike comes in and checks them about letting them know dessert is ready. But they were having a heart-to-heart conversation about how Brett is all about family and we need to get this right. But you really trying to sell them on how there's an amazing strawberry cheesecake upstairs with lemons on top. And it's like, do you not know how to mingle with other people, Mike? Like, do you not know how to engage in conversations like having your wife being there to lead? Like, Mike gives me social anxiety. Like, he's awkward. It's super weird because why did you feel the need to come down and check them? Why did you feel the need to do that? Why? It's so weird to me. Very, very weird. But moving on from that, we have Portia. She is meeting up with Kelly, and excuse me, it flashes back to Kelly inviting Portia to her Balmain event, which is a Mommy and Me event. So this was just for them to meet up to make sure there's no odd energy between them when the event comes. But it was odd energy the way that Kelly came in, and they sat so far apart from one another. It was very weird, very awkward. Um, Portia says that Kelly has a lot of personalities, but she only says she has a loud personality. Portia, so do you. We're discussing the dinner between Kelly, Shami, and Britt, where it came down to Portia being the topic of conversation, and Kelly saying, well, she should have known that when she decided to take that lady's husband. And why did she take that lady's husband? So when Portia heard the conversation, she made it seem as if the way that it was um replayed back to her was way different, because she said, I felt the need, I need to be prepared, I need to be cautious for this type of attack. But it wasn't like that, because Kelly did have that question which you never did answer, and Shamia told her to just ask her straight up. If you have any questions, just ask her. So now Portia wants to say, so my best friend told you to approach me at her birthday party. Kelly said, I don't think that was her intention, but she just wanted me to come to you if I have any questions. But Portia, you're making it seem as if Shamia tried to set you up, and that's not what it was. So for you to say, no, my best friend who knows what I'm going through is going to have me be set up for someone to come and attack me. What the fuck? As if you weren't aware of the conversation, because Shamia told you right after that. She told you what the girl said, and you already felt the way about it and said your little comment. And Shamia even told Kelly at her party that, you know what, I understand you have your questions, you can ask her, but make sure you get to know her first. That's what she told her. It wasn't Shamia's idea for her to ask you at your party, but that was the topic of conversation that led to Shamia's birthday. Everybody was discussing the comments that took place between her, Kelly, and Britt's conversation. So, Portia, you can fucking miss me with that shit. But at the end, they just decided to fake it like we're cool. We moved on. I didn't have any issues to come at you like that, for real, for real. And we have like a bipolar relationship now. And it's like Portia is just acting so fake just to have a nice kiki moment with Kelly, just to smooth things over, because she didn't want to answer any questions. She didn't want to talk about it because obviously she wants to still avoid talking about Simon. And you're not going to be able to escape this, Portia. No matter what you try to do, no matter what you try to get ahead of and create other issues to distract us from what you don't want to talk about, it's not going to work, okay? But that was weird to me. Moving on from there, we got Drew. So we have Drew. We see her in the studio putting some finishing touches on her song, and I did listen to Drew's whole album, and her whole album is amazing. It is a no skip album. Like, majority of her songs are my favorite. Shout out to Drew. Shout out to Dennis for putting out an amazing album. So we see Kenya, Angela, and Cynthia comes through for their support. And whenever it came down to her going through her issues with Ralph, Kenya was reaching out, giving her all the love, but she kind of still hid away from everything. Cynthia did the same thing as well. And Kenya even asked Angela, is this your first marriage? Angela said, yes, this is my first marriage, as well as this is also Drew's first marriage. And how did she meet Charles? She said they were neighbors. And she kept tabs on Charles by befriending the concierge of the front desk to know where he's at, who he's with, what's he doing. She wasn't wasting no time because they've already met years prior and nothing happened. So she wasn't about to lose this opportunity again. But Kenya wanted to tell Drew that you were wrong for working with Dennis directly without talking to Portia first. But that's the thing. Drew said, I have messages to prove that I was trying to tell her. And in her confessional, she is reading every single message she sent to Portia and is saying the same thing. I have to tell you something. I have to tell you something. I have something I want to tell you. And it just keeps on jumping day after day, week after week, where Portia just never took the time to just accept the message, reply it, set up a time, because she keeps on canceling and then saying, I've got too busy, I'm actually going out of town. And I feel like, you know what, Drew, even if you couldn't get in contact with her by a phone call, since you have messages to prove that you were contacting her, I would have sent the message right then and there. It would have been, hey, Portia, you see, I'm trying to get in touch with you because I want this to be a face-to-face conversation because I owe you that. But I've been working in music again. And Dennis offered to help me produce my album. And I'm letting you know I'm working with him. So that way you won't be blindsided about the news. But here it is. I would have just left it at that. So that way you don't have nothing else to tie you into that narrative. You worked behind Portia's back with Dennis. You did something to betray her, because that's exactly how Portia is carrying the narrative. And this is another thing that I don't like that you're doing, Drew. Why are you lying when you're saying that you guys don't talk, you guys don't text? But the first episode, he's calling you about setting up an event. You have the title of his name under bro, but it's a strictly business relationship. Drew, if you can sit in front of Portia and tell her that Dennis is like a brother to you, then keep it a buck and say that. Keep it a buck and say, yes, it's not changing anything. I would never do that to you. I look at him as a brother. Yes, I am working with him. That's all it is. Don't change it. Don't change it to fit somebody else's narrative because you don't like how it's making you look. Then don't make it easy for them to change the way it's making you look. You ain't gotta lie. But unless you're playing it up and it's like an acting job for you to play it off as if you're acting so dumb and ditzy, you don't know how this is looking, then I don't know, Drew. It's really pissing me off that this is something you don't need to lie about. This is so small. Anyway, Cynthia thinks that she can add a time when Kenya did a project from way back when and asked Leon to be a part of it. She, out of courtesy, asked Cynthia, is it okay that I offer Leon to do this job? And she was like, yes, it's just a respect factor. But for me, though, Cynthia, I don't think it applies to you because you and Leon have not been that type of space in years. And Leon is an actor. So, of course, any job opportunity that's going to come his way, whether it's someone that you've known, you've had history with, is he really going to tell you or should they really let you know? But I guess common courtesy. But hell, I feel like that's different than what this is because Portia doesn't deserve common courtesy, in my opinion. Now, Drew can keep saying that her and Dennis have been so professional, everything's been paid for. But at the end of the day, Kenya said, why hasn't he spoke on your behalf? Because you're being talked about like you're a whore. Like it's really getting dragged out for no reason. That Portia is feels some type of way about you working with Dennis. And I don't see how this could be a problem. She is in music. And if he is executive producing her album, why wouldn't he be in scenes with her? Why wouldn't he be in the studio with her discussing her album, discussing how she's planning on promoting her music? I just saw it yesterday. They are all over the radio shows promoting her music, going on tour, press tour. But then Portia is now giving props to Dennis, but I don't know if she's still getting props to Drew. She probably is still making as if it's an issue that she's working with him. Like, it's too much. It really, really is. Okay. Yeah, I agree. The way it's being brought up is not looking good in your favor. And then Shamia kicked it off at her birthday, asking her about Dennis. Angela chimed in and said, yeah, me and her kind of went back and forth because she said, I wasn't asking, she was fucking Dennis. Not what I said. But it was just like, why did that have to come out of nowhere? Now, Kenya said that she definitely said it, but no, she didn't say it. It flashed back to her saying, are you dating Dennis? And if you can read between the lines about everything that's being saying, it could read, are y'all fucking? But when her and Angela got into it, poor Shamia walked off and in an odd place. But has Portia said anything to you? She said that Portia did reach out to her so we can have a conversation. She said, okay, that's good. Cynthia wants to give her some advice that when it comes to baby daddies, it hits differently. Again, Cynthia, I don't think we can use you for that example. As far as Cynthia saying that baby daddies hit differently, I just feel like, you know what? I'm not about to have this be another moment where we're coddling Portia that she needs to be ultra sensitive in every single thing that she doesn't have any control over. Because what Dennis does doesn't have nothing to do with Portia unless it affects PJ. But we're trying to make it affect Portia because we're trying to help Portia have a storyline and it's not working for me. But anyway, we're going to move on from there. So now we get Shamia. She's talking about how her birthday went well. She's so excited and just having a very open conversation with her sisters about what she has going on. You know, she took her daughter to Boston to hear second opinions about her. Her oldest daughter, Cheyenne, has to have her tonsils removed, but she's very blessed to have her sisters be there for her. They do everything for each other. When there are times where she's busy with Shiloh, her older sister will offer and say, I'll come get Shia, and it's vice versa. Then her middle sister, who has been dealing with lupus, will drop everything to come and help. And she's very happy. And I can see that. Shamia has an amazing support system. And I can see why she is so strong because she doesn't express that she has a lot going on. She deals with it differently. She would rather come in and fix someone else's problems instead of focusing on hers. But with everything that they got going on, she is still trying to find the right surrogate. But she has not come to terms with how she'll handle her daughter and the challenges that she has coming up. But she wants to continue growing her family. But is she rushing the process? Because she wants to give her husband the family. She wants to give him more children. She wants to have more children. And she might think about going through the process of IVF again. But we heard that the last round she did, which was 7, her estrogen levels were so high, she was at risk for stroke and blood clots. I'm like, is it worth it though? Like, I understand you want to grow your family, but it's not fair for you to put in your body like this. And what you already have going on with your 2 daughters, maybe you need to take a breather and just get that handled. And she just wants to give all the love that she can. Okay, when she says she wants to be able to give all the love that she has, what does that mean? I hope you're not trying to say, I don't want to be leaving this earth without being able to give my family what I want or be able to be here to see that happen. Like, what are you trying to say? And as far as your daughter Shiloh, she is the happiest baby I've ever seen. Every time I see her on Shamia's Instagram, she is just smiling. She's the most beautiful girl ever. Same with her daughter Shia. It's just like, I don't want to keep crying every episode with you, Shamia, but and when it came down to how does Gerald feel about it, she said if it doesn't work out, he said we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But maybe you should just take a breather. Like, you have a lot going on, and you shouldn't have to be all over the place like this. I don't know, Shamia. I just didn't like the tone of what you wanted to, lead with when it comes to you wanting to build your family. But we're gonna get more into that. So now we got Angela. She is checking on one of the properties that she was renovating, and the home is gorgeous. And this was pretty much a pat on the back for her embarking on real estate investment. And the outcome is going to be a great outcome. And maybe she can say, look, Charles, I did it. So we can move forward with this part of the business because he invested his time, he invested his money. So he was definitely looking for a return. When it came down to Angela getting everything all set up and Charles pulled in 20 minutes later, she looked so irritated because why couldn't you be here when I was here? I already did all the heavy lifting and now you want to say, can I offer some help? You could have been here giving me help already. Anyway, with them renovating their property, she also wants them to do a vow renewal. And he is kind of on the fence about doing it because when they were newly married, he was banned from Madison Square Garden because he got a bit abruptive with one of the security guards and he got escorted out and he was banned for a year. And it was a lot on them in their marriage, and she couldn't help him. She couldn't heal him. So they had to live separately in order for them to work on one another. So they ended up coming back together because it was like a war. So they were able to say, this isn't a war for us, who's sticking it out and working through. But Charles is not eager to plan a ceremony because he's looking at the amount of money that's been spent for renovating the property. So he's not looking to add another bill. So how about we get this handled and we'll see how this all works out before we jump in on this. And she mentioned a therapist that they've used before, and he makes a comment about how much money she's spending for therapy and was thinking we should get a discount for it. I mean, it's the services you pay for. If it's a service you have been needing, then maybe you do need to ask for some type of discount plan. But she said this was necessary because this is how we're able to make it through all these years, and we're going to need therapy for us to make it to another 10 years. He said, I don't know, we'll see. um I have a thought. Like, was it that bad that he got banned from Madison Square Garden? that it affected y'all marriage? I mean, considering the way that Charles shows up on camera and Angela had to come to the conclusion Charles is who he is. He is everything straight shooter, no chaser. I, that's got to be a lot. Maybe it was a lot living with him around that time. Maybe everything that she did just pissed him off because of how he was treated from the Madison Square Garden thing. So, oof, more and more, I'm like, that's interesting. I want to know more about that. But we're going to move on from there. We have Drew. She's meeting with her attorney because the last time that she had a hearing with Ralph, it didn't go well. Ralph showed up without his lawyer and cross-examined Drew as if he was supposed to do that. How does that work? So the way that he just came in and displayed the trait of someone who is controlling and manipulative, it confirmed Drew's lawyer of everything that Drew has been experiencing. And she's been going through this divorce since she filed back in February 2023. So it's been over a year and a half. And the point of this is to get him to move out of the house and for her to sell the home. She don't want to live there as much as she wants to. She wants to buy a whole new home. But Ralph is halting it because the judge probably felt the need to feel sorry for him and said that Ralph told the judge he couldn't afford to pay for the mortgage and live somewhere else. How? Ain't you Mr. IT? Ain't you in tech? How can you not afford to live in two places? Or how could you not afford to take care of one place and live in the other? Make that make sense. And then that post that he put up to say that Drew is describing or telling what's going on in our divorce and he's doing all the checklist of everything he's provided for, and it's all cap and bullshit. It really is. So the information that he sent over that was supposed to be his finances weren't his. Everything that he sent was mostly Drew's information. And it's like, what the fuck? How are you not sending your information? What are you hiding? So why is he trying to hide his finances and how he is continuously having access to Drew's money, which you need to put a halt to? Like, are you spending Drew's money? Were you spending Drew's money when you left to go to Tampa? So the judge wants to unseal her divorce file. And what will be revealed once it's unsealed? How he was a serial cheater. He was sexting other women. These women were telling her these messages. He's been stalking her. He's been following her. I said, oh my God. So she becomes emotional because she never wanted any of this to come out because she wants to protect her kids. But he ain't doing this because he cares about the kids, though. He wants to win. And let me also say this. Just hearing the way that Ralph has treated Drew, I'm not trying to add this, but it's reminding me of Love Marriage Huntsville because Martell was the exact same way. Every single thing that he wanted to silence Mel about because it was about him and the way he treated her, he made it seem as if she's the one that's doing this. And the way that Ralph wanted to put a post about Drew might be losing custody or anything that can affect Drew in court if she ever was to come down to the basement without permission, I said, this nigga is playing a fucking game. Anything that Drew can have that can help her win, he's going to try to set up to make it hard for her to not win. He's going to do everything he can to make it hard for her and make it seem as if she's the one that's making it hard for him when it's him because he can't have what he wants. That's crazy as hell to me. I said, Drew, how does hell does he have access to your money like that? And you have no clue what he brought to the table? And this whole Ralph in the Basement podcast, that ain't gonna go nowhere. That's not like just the stupidity of it all is what pisses me off when it comes to this shit. It's like Ralph is crazy as fuck. I mean, Ralph can't blame Drew on how he was presented on the show when he presented himself on the show. Everything that he's shown on the show was exactly who he is. I ain't got time, Mr. Egghead. I don't. Moving on. Moving on. And where the hell is cousin Courtney? Why isn't Courtney defending you in this like she defended you last season? It was just a quick scene of Shamia going to the doctors for her daughter to have her tonsils removed. And she looked so adorable in her medical lab coat. And how Gerald, he couldn't sit down for nothing. He was so nervous, like a father be. Fathers don't be still. They be standing up, being alert, want to make sure everything's good. So cute. Moving on from there, we got Portia. Portia, Miss Diane. or heading over to get a massage. It felt like a scene that wasn't like real. Like it was an added scene because what does Portia got going on? We know she can't film in the house. So she gotta like come up with things outside of the home just to make it seem as if she got a busy life. So she's talking about how this divorce is different than her divorce from Cordell. She felt like she was in the divorce with Cordell. With being in this divorce with Simon, there's no communication. He's just acting out like Cordell did. Didn't you find out about the divorce on Twitter? Wasn't he already packing up your stuff and kicking it out? Like you were blindsided by the divorce by Cordell. Just like how you acting so lost and confused about this divorce from Simon. Girl, whatever. Miss Diane wants to say that when she met Simon, she felt like he was her protector. What you smoking? What you mean? Protecting who? There was no protection. Okay. So Portia wants to talk about how she's reached out to the people in his family back in Africa because in African customs, you can go to the family and see if they can figure things out. She reached out to an uncle, an older cousin, and they pretty much said, we don't want to be involved. We want to let the legal court process, work itself out. And she's getting emotional. How nobody wants to help her. Why should they help you, Portia? They probably are tired of Simon scamming ass. Probably got scammed by him too. So they don't want nothing to do with him. Good night and goodbye. So Portia talks to Diane about her meeting up with Shamia, how Shamia wanted her to get out the house, she can change the scenery. But then she discussed her meeting up with these two girls, and majority of the conversation was about me. But it wasn't just about you, it was mostly Shamia defending you against them. And it was about how these ladies should not judge you about what's been said about you on social media. They should get to know you first. And then her mom wants to say, I know you don't like to hear me say this, but I know that you and Shamia have been friends since high school. But sometimes you got to wash the dog with a bone. Because why is she bringing this to you? Doesn't she know you're going through a divorce? Why is she not acting sensitive to your situation? Excuse me? Shamia has been very sensitive to Portia's situation, which I don't understand why, because I don't feel sorry for Portia. I don't like the way that Portia is acting so nonchalant about how Shamia defended her. And why did you say, I guess she felt the need to defend me? What you mean she felt the need to defend you? She always is in need of defending you. Whenever your name is mentioned in a negative way, she comes in and protects you, which I'm getting irritated about. But the way you're just like not appreciating the way she went out of her way to make sure the ladies don't judge you about what you did, how we seen the way you handle your situation with Simon is complete bullshit to me. Miss Diane, this is all your fault. You want to place your daughter in competition with Shamia to make it seem as if Shamia is trying to laugh and navigate off of Portia's pain. Are you for real? That is not what happened. You are poisoning the relationship between the two of them, and Portia is allowing it because Portia wants to be the victim. And here you go again, Portia, lying. Just like how you lied on Drew with Dennis about how Drew is creating a whole different situation between her and him while working together. You're lying right now, making it seem as if Shamia set you up for these ladies to come after you when that wasn't the case. You're making it seem as if you've never had a conversation with Shamia in the first place, that she let you know what these girls were saying. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, Miss Diane and Portia are living in the land of milk and cookies. And it's annoying as hell to me that you're really not looking at your daughter as if she's the problem. You're blaming everybody else but you and Portia. Crazy as hell. Moving on. We have Kelly. This is her Mommy and Me's event hosted by Balmain. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. I've been saying Balmain. Is it Balmain? And it's for her to put awareness to the Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation, OI. And she's done events with this fashion house before, but this is the first time she's closed down the actual store. That's big. We see Brooklyn and Kenya coming in with their matching floor outfit. Brooklyn is so cute. I just hate that we're only seeing Kenya in group scenes. We're not seeing solo scenes about how she has her life going on. I would love to see these little flashbacks about Kenya and Brooklyn doing cute things. Those quick scenes. Portia came in with PJ. She's on time. Apparently, Portia and Drew have the same makeup artist, but Drew was aware that her makeup artist was getting ready to do Portia's makeup, so she slowed down and delayed Portia's makeup time. So she got a quick beat and was able to come to the event. But for me, I'm just like, I don't believe you, Portia. How can Drew make you so late to an event that you ended up showing on time for? Drew was the one who ended up coming in about another hour later than you. At least she was an hour late and not 3 hours late. Was Kelly's event closer to your neck of the woods than Shamia's? But then that can still be a crock of bullshit because the magical hour you chose to leave, you were still there on time when everybody arrived. So how can Drew slow down you getting ready to come to the event? I don't see how, but whatever. Cynthia, I hate this wig on you. She's trying to talk to Portia about how she's trying to talk to Portia about how things are going with her and Simon. Like, I've been through a divorce, but I've never been through a divorce this type of magnitude. Portia is acting like a victim about how I didn't know this person. Who was this I brought around my daughter? This was someone I trusted around my daughter. Girl, you should have never trusted this man around your daughter to begin with. You should not have rushed to push this man on your daughter to begin with. So Shamia comes in. Angela noticed that their last run-in was not cool, so she wants to fix things, and hopefully there can be a conversation they can be receptive in. Britt comes in. She's looking cute. She gets a hug from Kenya. I had to ask, do you feel happy now, Britt? You've been acknowledged by Kenya, so you can get over this little issue that you have. So while everybody is shopping, Portia and Shamir are discussing their conversation that she had with Angela, and Shamir is already coming in with the jokes, talking about Angela's 99 no's, and she even makes a joke in the confessional, sucking in her nostrils so hard so it can mimic Annie's nose. And I'm like, come on, Shamia. Yes, her nose is looking a bit pinched, but that's not necessary. And she's like, you had a good time in my home. I gave you cake and you want to come at me with a nasty attitude. I'm like, well, see, Shamir, you kind of walked into that because just recognizing how you're always on the defense for Portia, it's like, girl, it's not necessary. So you really can't be this mad over someone clocking how you're always Portia's lap dog, Portia's assistant, handling everything for Portia as if Portia can defend herself. So Kelly gets on the mic and she talks about the reason for this event, and all of the proceeds from this event goes to the OI Foundation, which is brittle bones disease. And three of her daughters have brittle bones disease. When her daughter was 6 weeks old, her mom realized something was wrong. She went to the hospital to find out what was wrong, but then CPS was called and they became stuck in Baltimore for a month because it was a case being built against her that she was abusing her daughter. But very proud that the OI Foundation was the support that she needed to prove that she wasn't abusing her children. So when the doctors looked at her daughter's eye and they can tell that she is affected by this disease, which is a genetic disease, this is the reason why she was able to go home and she's able to be free with her daughters. And she's very proud and grateful for this foundation. And it's just crazy to me sometimes when you see these types of cases being built, nobody looks at another option. Nobody looks at another solution. It's always easy to pinpoint that a mother is abusing her children because whenever you see a bruise on a child's arm, you're instantly thinking, oh, they're getting beat on. So I'm appreciative of Kelly for being open about her story every episode. I'm very appreciative of Kelly, who is not afraid of having these hard conversations. She's not afraid to being honest and vulnerable about what she's been dealing with and what she dealt through. So when Drew finally comes in with her children, she looks amazing. Kenya and Angela ask her, are you going to talk to Portia? She said, I will talk to her. It'll come naturally. I don't want to force it. Child, Drew was playing it safe. She wasn't trying to get nowhere near Portia's wrath like it was at Shamia's party. I don't want to get cussed out again. So then Angela decides to approach Shamia about how they need to have a conversation because their last interaction was not right. That's not how I like to behave in, and I want to fix it. Shamia agrees to have the conversation, but then Shamia got a bit snippy to say, I would love to meet Angela and not Drew's representative. I was like, oh shit. But Angela said, well, you did meet me. That's who you met. Oh, so you speak on Drew's behalf. Yes, I will. Just like you'll speak on Portia's behalf. Okay, well, good. Then we don't need to have a conversation. I said what I said. I feel how I feel. We can move forward. But the way that she just walked off and she was loud, Angela said, you don't got to be so mean to me. I'm actually, I am not. You are being mean. I'm going to call your name Shamina. That's your new name. No, it's not. Yes, it is. See, that's the thing, though, Shamia. I like you, and you're giving way more range and vulnerability in your story than Portia is. But right here, right now, this is not a good look. I didn't like this energy from you. You can't feel a way that whenever you're going to be in defense of Portia, that can't nobody else defend Drew. Because Portia is not always right in situations. Neither is Drew. But in this case, Drew was not wrong. Portia is the one who's wrong. Portia is the one who wants to create an issue because she has nothing else to talk about, and you're going to follow in her delusions and help set things up for her, and you shouldn't do that. So when they go back and forth, throwing jabs at one another, Shamia wants to talk about her 99 Latoya Jackson nose. Angela calls her Flavor Flav. And then Kenya walks in front of him and tells him, nope, let's not do this. She calms Shamia down and says, your daughters are here. That's not cool. And where is Portia? Your best friend? Nowhere to be found. Somewhere soaking. She can't afford to spend any money on a Balmain purse or a Balmain bracelet. But how come she's not here defending you in this situation? So Angela was with the shade as well as Shamia was with the shade. So they both were separated because it did get very loud. Even Kelly was like, can we just all shop till we drop? Can we all just make sure we're here for the good cause? That's why we're here. We don't do this here. And the more and more Shamia wants to talk about Angela's nose, she said, well, you can get your nose out of Portia's ass. Like 2 and 2. I wasn't mad at the shade. But I do think that it's not fair for Shamia to think that she can always be Portia's assistant and Portia's lapdog and think it's so wrong for somebody else to offend anyone. Like I feel like it's not fair that Shamia thinks she can double team a Portia against one person and can nobody else defend that person. Angela was not wrong in defending Drew. So while you can defend your friend, I can defend mine. But that doesn't mean we gotta allow it to mess up our friendship. We don't have to allow it to mess up what we're building because, like you said, Shamia, you don't want to be in the middle between Portia and Drew. So right now you need to see yourself out of it. So both parties was giving their opinions about what took place and how all I did was ask a simple question. I didn't know it was going to be like this. And Portia now wants to come over and say, I heard you were talking about somebody's body parts. Yes. And then she mentioned I was Flavor Flav. I know I was Flavor Flav for Halloween, but it is what it is. But either way, y'all did get loud and it was being very nasty and it was supposed to be an important event. So Shamia, hold yourself accountable for how you behaved in that moment. So Shamia ends up approaching Drew and apologizing to her about how she embarrassed her at her party. That wasn't her intention to call out in front of everybody. But I think you did it so that Portia can have a way to address some things that she will have the ability to talk about because she can't talk about anything else. But right here, right now, Shamia, you only apologizing to Drew because you don't want it to be a dragged out situation. But how can you know you were wrong for embarrassing Drew, but you were mad at Angela for calling you out for embarrassing Drew? That could have been a simple conversation because you and Angela don't have that deep of an issue. It's not even about y'all's relationship. It's about Portia and Drew. So that's interesting to me though, Shamia. You were so easily ready to apologize to Drew, but yet you couldn't have a conversation with Angela. So weird to me. Um, so Drew approaches Portia to ask if they can have a conversation. Portia is acting nonchalant. She doesn't want to talk, but it's like you finally is answering one of her text messages to say, let's have a conversation. And when she's giving that opportunity, you want to shut her down and push her to the side. I can tell that Drew's getting frustrated of having to play this game of cat and mouse with Portia, having to finally catch up to her to see if she's ready, but then she doesn't want to be ready. This dragon is not going to work for me. And they couldn't even give the conversation a chance because Brooklyn is trying to get Portia's attention. Drew's daughter is getting her attention. And Portia is escaping this conversation because she feels like, where did Drew come with this audacity? And then, oh, I can see why. She brought her guard dog here. She brought her sister here. And Portia, why are you trying to make little things appear as if this is a hard conversation that you can't have when you've been wanting this type of attention anyway? So you can't get mad that Drew brought her sister there, just like how you brought Lauren in situations to back you up. It's like how you are used to having Shamia back you up in situations. So you can miss me with that. But again, if you want to talk, we can talk. Drew said, listen, I've texted you. You finally reached back to me. Let's have a conversation. We can meet up anytime. We can go to the studio. It's nothing. But Portia, I ain't got time for this. That was pretty much the end of the episode, but you really gonna piss me off with you trying to drag out this issue with Drew over something that was so fucking small because you don't have nothing else to offer. You don't want to talk about Simon, but you cannot escape that. What did you think about coming back this season and thinking we were just going to be so sensitive to your situation with Simon that we weren't going to ask you the questions about what took place before? Girl, you can miss me with that. You're not escaping any involvement of how you and Simon got together and the way you've handled things since then. So that's it. That's all. But y'all, that's it. That's it. I don't have no more. Please stay tuned for my next video and I'm see you guys later. Bye.